Hey guys, Joshua Neal here, and today we're looking at Fatal Illusion by Megadeth. Remember, if you enjoy the lesson, please click like and let me know. You can also leave me any comments or questions you may have. I do my best to get back to all of those. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future updates, and as always, grab that full note and tab transcription downstairs so that you can follow along at home. Alright, let's get to it. Before we get started, we'll need to tune our bass. Megadeth is tuned in D standard on this one, which means you're going to take your standard tuned 4-string bass and you're going to lower all of the strings a whole step, which means that your E string comes down to a D, your A comes down to a G, your D comes down to a C, and your G comes down to an F. I am using a pick on this one because that's what Dave Ellefson tends to use. Also, parts of this song are very, very, very fast, and doing it with your fingers seems a little bit impractical. So I'm going with a pick on this one. If you want to give it a shot with your fingers, you're probably going to have to do that Cliff Burton finger pick thing at the end in order to achieve that speed and not have your arm poop out on you. Anyway, getting into the first riff. There's a bunch of noise at the beginning just to set the mood, and then the intro riff kicks in, or the first intro riff kicks in, and that looks like... So we're going to start on the E string. I'm going to refer to all of the strings as if they were standard tuned, just to keep it simple. We're going to start on the E string. We're going to have open, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, open. And that comes in on the and of 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. From that open E string, you're going to go up to the 7th fret of the A. 7th fret of the A, open E, 6th fret of the A, open E, 5th fret of the A, open E, 4th fret. And that looks like... So each of the low E's is going to be an 8th note, and each of the notes on the A string is going to be equivalent to a quarter note. So we would have 1 and 3, 4 and 2. Putting that all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 7, 6, 5, 4. Then you've got 2 beats where there's some kind of guitar riff, you know, or that's all going to happen 8 times, and then we kick into the real reason that everybody wants to learn this song, which is the bass lick at the beginning. So this can be pretty demanding. This took a little while to get down, but I think I've got it written out in a good way, a way that works for me. And also, I did find some live footage of Dave Ellefson playing this, and this is where he's playing the riff. So I'm gonna say if it's good enough for Dave, it's good enough for me. Gonna start on an open E. From here, we jump up to the 2nd fret of the D string. And we're going to pull off to the open D. Down to the 2nd fret of the A, back up to the D, then 1st fret of the A, and we're going to slide into the 2nd fret. You can also alternate pick this. I think when I'm not thinking about it, I tend to alternate pick it too. But you're going to slide into the 2nd fret from the 1st fret, and that sets up this run here. 3rd fret on the D, 2, open, 3rd fret of the A, 2nd fret of the D, open, 3rd fret of the A, 2nd fret, and then it starts over. So all together we've got open, 2, open, 2, open, 1, slide to 2, 3, 2, 0, 3, 2, 0, 3, 2. You're going to do that 3 times, and then the 4th time we have a little variation at the end. Starts the same way though. Open E, 2nd fret D, pull off, 2nd fret A, open D, 1st fret, slide it to 2, and then instead of doing the run, you're going to just hang out on the 3rd fret of the A string for 2 beats. 3, 4, playing 16th notes there. So that first ending looks like... just like that. You go back to the top, play the main riff 3 more times. Play that guy 3 times, and then the second ending, the last time, or the 8th time through, if you're thinking of it that way, again starts the same way. Open E, 2nd fret pull off, 2nd on the A, open D, 1st fret slide to 2. Then we've got open E, 3rd fret, open E, 3rd fret, and that's where the whole band comes back in and everybody lines up. So if you're having trouble with that rhythm, 3, 4, you can just line it up with the rest of the band and you should be just fine. So all together at a reasonable pace, the bass intro looks like... I guess the third part of the intro, which is also what the solo is going to be over later. Here the guitar picks up the main riff. The bass actually stops and goes to kind of a counter melody thing here. You're going to start on the 7th fret of the A string and also the open E string. So you're playing a big octave here. And the rest of the measure you're just going to crank out open E's. Coming in on the upbeat of 1. So we'd have 1 and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... Rhythmically it lines up with the riff. So it lines up just fine. You're going to essentially replace the bass riff with these open Ds. So when you get to the first ending, you are going to end up back on the 3rd fret of the A string like you did in the intro. So that's 1, 2, 3E and a 4E and then right back and starting it over. Second ending's going to go the same way. 1 and a 2E and a... Get that 3E, 4E, just like you did before. So altogether that would be 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Moving on into the verse. We actually changed keys a little bit, but it's not a big deal. That one looks like... That's that riff over and over and over again. We're starting on the 4th fret of the A string. We're going to go 4th fret of the A string, 2nd fret of the E, and then we got this quick run here. Open A, 2, 3, 4. Back down to 2 on the E string. Back up to open A, then another open A, then 2, 3 on the A, and then it starts over. That's 4, 2, 0, 2, 3, 4, 2, 0, 2, 3. If we were to count that out, it would be 1 and 2E and E, doubling the guitars here, so if you're having trouble counting out the rhythm, again, just give it a real good listen with the guitars. You should be okay. That's going to repeat. You're going to play that entire sequence 8 times. I've got it written as 4 measures repeating once just to save space. So 8 of these. and then it would start over. From there, we go into the first solo. You're going to go back to that third intro riff, the one with the big octave. Go back to that guy. After that, we go into a second verse. This one starts the same way, but then it's got a little modulation in it. It's going to start with the 4th fret down to the 2nd fret, that sequence we just learned. 4, 2, 0, 2, 3, 4, 2, 0, 0, 2, 3. We're going to have 8 of those. Then we actually extend the verse. We're going to modulate it up a half step, which means all of the notes that you were playing here are going to move up 1 fret. 1 fret is a half step on the bass. So instead of starting on 4, we're actually going to start on the 5th fret, and I actually finger this one a little bit differently so that I don't have to shift around too much. I'm going to start on the 5th fret, down to the 3rd fret of the E, 6th fret, so this is where the fingering gets different, 3rd fret of the A, 4th fret, 5th fret, it goes 5, 3, 6, 3, 4, 5. Same rhythm, same exact thing as the previous riff, just half step higher. Now 5, 3, 6, 3, 4, 5, 3, 6, 6, 3, 4, 5. Gonna have that. And you're gonna finish on that 4th fret because you're going to start the old riff over again. And when you go back up for the modulation again, you're ending up going from the 3rd fret of the A string up to the 5th fret and starting that 2nd sequence. Starting on the 4th fret again to go back to the original key. You're going to end on the 2nd fret of the E string because this is where we've got the guitar break where the tempo really, really picks up and we get into some of the harder stuff in the song. So after that hit on the 2nd fret of the E, we're going to have 8 measures of just guitar and also some heart monitor noises as the protagonist flatlines, and I'm pretty sure turns into a zombie at the end of the song. But anyway, after that 8-bar break, we're going to go into this first bridge here. We're going to start on the 2nd fret of the E string, and the riff is going to look like this. So we're on the 2nd fret here. We've got 2, 2, 2. Then this little turnaround here. 3rd fret, 2nd fret, open, 2nd fret, another 2nd fret, and then I like to do this whole sequence as hammer-ons and pull-offs. 2nd fret of the A string, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, open, and then it starts over. I do it as a hammer-on pull-off there, like that. I feel like it's easier to do that way. So counting that out would be 1 and 2E and 4E and 1 and 2E and 4E and you're gonna do that whole sequence 8 times. Then we go into, I guess, the second part of this bridge. Starting on the 3rd fret, we're going to hold that for 7 total beats, just cranking out Thrash 16th notes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to do that hammer-on pull-off turnaround. 2, 3, 2, 0. So all together it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to go back to the original riff. Twice, then you're going to come back up to the 3rd fret here for the next sequence, and this is where the bass gets to do a neat little chromatic fill. You're going to have 4 beats of 16th notes on the 3rd fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we got this run here. So it's 2 pick strokes on each of these notes. It's a down up on each one. All on the A string. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then on 9, you're going to hit it. And you're just going to slide down into nothing because we're going to go back to that riff. So just one more pass through that. You're going to start on the 3rd fret of the A string. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back into the main riff for the bridge. We're going to do that 3 times. And then this time we're going to cut it short. We're not going to get to the pull-off section. We'll just go 2, 3, 2, 0, 2. Only 2 beats total. 1, 2. And then we're into this little just transitional sequence to get back to the next part of the bridge. Full measure of 16th notes on the 2nd fret of the E. 2, 3, 4. Then full measure of 16th notes on the 1st fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. So. Then we get into the last bridge, the 2nd bridge, as I call it. And that looks like... That's the riff we're going to be doing. 2 beats of 16th notes on the open E string. 1, 2. 7th fret of the A string. Then we're going to finish out the measure with open E strings. So we've got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 7th fret of the A, 8th fret of the E, 7th fret, and then when we get back to the 6th fret, we're going to go back to the 16th notes. So 3, 4. Altogether, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, or 1, and 1, We're going to do that twice, that whole sequence. From here we go into a slightly less complicated but far more difficult part where we're just cranking 16th notes as hard as we can. We've got the open E string. We're going to do 2 measures of that. Sorry, 2 beats of that. 1, 2. On the 3rd beat, and only in this first measure, you're going to grab the 7th fret of the A string. Right back down to the open E string. So that looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. The rest of the measures are just open E's. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you want to, you can leave out that 7th fret on the A string if you want to just crank out open E strings. But it happens every single time we go through this sequence. That's why I felt it should be included. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you go back to the first part of that bridge. 7, 8, 7, 6. 7, 7, 8, 7, 6. Back to that. You're going to do that whole sequence 4 times, and then when we get into the final part of this bridge, you're going to just stick on the first part, the first riff in this sequence, the one that goes... And the guitars are also doing these riffs all the way through, so if you're not exactly sure where you are, just keep listening to the guitars and you'll know what part we're doing. From there, we get to the final part of the song, the outro, which looks like... This can be a little awkward because they're really speeding up at this point, so it's very hard to catch it with the recording sometimes. But we're doing these little off-kilter hits, starting on the open A string. 2 of those. down to the 2nd fret of the E. We're always going to come back to the 2nd fret of the E. 2nd fret of the A, back to 2nd fret of the E, 4th fret of the A, 2nd fret of the E, 5th fret of the A, 2nd fret of the E, and then up to the 1st fret of the A, and we're going to stick on this for a moment. So we've got O, 2, 2, 2, 4, 2, 5, 2, 1. And you're going to do that whole run twice. There it is, guys. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. If you did, be sure to click like and let me know. You can also leave me any comments or questions you may have. I do my best to get back to all of those. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future updates. And as always, grab that full note and tab transcription downstairs so that you can practice this one at home. And until next time,